What's up, guys? Nate Johnson, owner at Steel Strength Training, here with another episode of the Steel Strength Radio podcast, or for those of you watching on YouTube, another YouTube video. So this is from a blog that I just wrote, and it's talking about the things that are causing you to gain weight in your first month of strength training. Sometimes clients report, or we see clients in the gym that we're training gain a little bit of weight after their first month of strength training, despite their measurements being down, their waist, their arms, their hips being down, their pictures showing significant progress. They're more defined, they've lost fat, they've built muscle. And so that's what inspired me to write this blog. So I'm just going to bring it to you guys in video form. So many times, again, clients, they're feeling good about their progress. We do measurements and progress photos every month during their first 3 months with us. We do it quarterly after that. But during that first month, it is very, very common to see some type of weight gain. And it's very alarming to people because they've been taught to, live and die by the scale. That's the only thing that matters. And it's not. It's not the only thing that matters by any means. It is a useful tool, but it is just that. It's just a tool. And there's a reason that we don't just track weight. We track weight, but we also take progress pictures as well as doing measurements. So, there's a story here. Tracy, one of my clients long ago, she was down 1.5 inches on her waist in her first month, but she was up 2 pounds on the scale, despite doing everything right, everything that we asked as far as her strength training, her nutrition, her walking outside of the gym. And you just look at her measurements, you look at her pictures, and she's crushing it, but she wanted to know, as many clients after her have wanted to know, Nate, why have I gained some weight? So I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you've gained weight during your first month. After that, I'm going to tell you how you can know, generally speaking, if you've made good progress or not based on how much weight you did or did not gain. And then let's see what we got for you at the end here. Yeah, I'll give you some more tools that you can use to evaluate your progress. So let's talk about those 5 things that cause weight gain. So the one that everybody's going to think of, it's increased muscle mass. So, when you're working out, one of the main benefits of strength training is having more muscle. It looks good. It gives us the lean, tone, defined look that we want. It makes us stronger. A bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. It also just makes us healthier. Having more muscle is great for your metabolic health, and your metabolic health, impacts things like your cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, things like that. A lot of these metabolic issues that people are dealing with, increased muscle mass will only help that situation. So anyway, during your first year of strength training, and so your first month falls within your first year, during your first year of strength training, it's very common to see a gain of anywhere from 0.5 to 2 pounds of increase in dry muscle tissue every single month. Most of you guys are probably, your everyday men and women, 30s, 40s and up. You're probably going to see closer to 0.5 to 1 pound of dry muscle tissue, but you're also, that's dry tissue, just the tissue, but you're also going to see some water weight gain as well. So that's one thing that is going to contribute to the scale, but it's not even the biggest contributor, believe it or not, in the first month. So the second thing is going to be increased blood volume. This is one of my absolute favorites. I love this. I didn't even know about this until a few years ago, if I'm being honest. But you actually, when you start working out, you actually have an increase in your blood volume. The amount of blood that you have pumping through your body actually increases by a fairly substantial amount. And this happens within your first few weeks. And since oxygen and other nutrients are carried to all the cells in your body through the blood, having more blood seems like a major benefit when it comes to having energy, thinking very clearly, and generally just feeling awesome. And honestly, it's shocking how much better my clients feel within days, especially the first few weeks of starting their strength training program. And I have to think that just having an increase in blood volume, while it does contribute to weight gain in that first month, is a huge reason that they're feeling better, because they've got more blood volume. Let's go. That's awesome. All right, the next is inflammation as part of the recovery process. So there's a lot of talk these days about inflammation, especially chronic inflammation. Our bodies are coming in contact with all sorts of new things that have been introduced really over the last 50 years that many generations before us did not have to deal with. More on that another day. But many of these things are that we're coming into contact with are causing low levels of chronic inflammation in our bodies, and this can lead to long-term health issues down the road. But inflammation is not inherently bad. Not all inflammation is bad, despite all the negative press. Inflammation is actually part of the healing process. So when we have an injury, there's inflammation around the injury site. When we have a cold or some other illness, we have inflammation in our body, and the inflammation is a signal for the body to protect and heal itself. How cool, right? Exercise, especially hard exercise like strength training, causes stress on the body. It's a good stress though, which then causes an inflammatory response. But don't worry, this is good inflammation. So it is acute inflammation. Acute just means it is inflammation that's happening for a brief, acute means brief period of time. So it has a very specific purpose, which is to help your body recover from the workout so you can be stronger, more muscular, leaner, more fit, and healthier. But as a result of this inflammation process, your body tends to hold on to more water weight, which can lead to an increase in the number on the scale. This is easily proven when clients, they've been training for several months, maybe a year or two. They take 2 weeks off from the gym to go on a long vacation, and they almost always report at the end of their vacation that they've lost 2 to 4 pounds when they get back. Now, even if they've been doing lots of walking, they probably did not lose 2 to 4 pounds of fat. Maybe they lost some on their trip, but it doesn't explain the entire weight loss. So because they haven't been strength training, they lost some of the water weight that they were holding on to as a result of those inflammatory processes. It's also interesting to note that clients report, and I see this in myself, they tend to weigh 1 to 2 pounds more the day after a leg workout, specifically a leg workout, even in comparison to an upper body workout. So, and it makes sense because your legs are a larger muscle group. Those are larger muscle groups, and so the inflammatory response generally is going to be a little bit larger. You're going to hold a little bit more water weight. So it's not uncommon to weigh a little bit more on, after the day after a leg day as opposed to the day after an upper body day. And then you'd weigh more the day after an upper body day in comparison to, a rest day the day before where you were not doing any strength training. All right, another thing that causes weight gain is increased glycogen storage. So a super awesome and fun benefit from working out is the fact that your body will process the carbs and sugars that you eat. So even if your body will process the carbs and sugar better. So even if you don't change your diet, which is not what we recommend, but even if you don't change your diet, your body will be more likely to utilize the carbs and sugar that you're eating to your benefit. One of the ways that your body does this is to store more of those carbs in your muscle as glycogen. Glycogen is basically the form of storage that our body uses to store carbs. Okay, so we eat carbs, and then our body stores those carbs as glycogen for later use. And there's two main areas that we store glycogen. So the first area is the liver, and the liver can only hold about 100 grams of glycogen. The second place we store glycogen is in our muscles. So an average person holds around 500 grams of glycogen. But when we strength train, our body will increase our glycogen stores, meaning we can store even more carbs in the muscle. And who doesn't love carbs, right? So not only do you increase the amount of carbs that you're storing in the muscle, but for every gram of carb you store as glycogen, you store around 3 grams of water along with it, contributing to more weight gain. All right, so next, this is just some miscellaneous thoughts that are causing or contributing to the weight gain in your first month. So there's other minor contributors to the weight gain, like increased bone density. Now, this isn't going to contribute in any kind of large way. You're not building pounds and pounds of bone tissue in a month, but it is a factor nonetheless. And just generally speaking, strength training kickstarts a lot of the anabolic processes in the body, and anabolic just means to build up. Think about, anabolic steroids that are used in sports. But you don't need steroids to increase these anabolic processes in the body. Just strength training alone will do it. So when you start strength training, hormones such as testosterone and growth hormone increase greatly. And these hormones contribute to the building up of the body. And when you're strength training, you're going to grow. Overall, you're going to shrink because you'll be losing fat. And muscle is also more dense than fat, so you'll actually be smaller. but internally, your body is growing as a result of strength training. The body's being built up. The body is being made better. And it's about dang time that we focus on something other than just burning calories and taking away from our bodies. It's time we focused on something positive, on being, on becoming, and doing more than we are capable of today to become better. That's the whole point of this. So don't be scared of the term growth. You are growing from strength training. But I will remind you that when you strength train consistently in conjunction with a solid diet and plenty of activity outside of the gym, you will lose lots of fat. Your clothes are going to fit better. You'll drop clothing sizes and you will be smaller, leaner, and more defined, but you'll also be, stronger and more muscular. And I can assure you one thing that is not contributing to your weight gain, and that was fat. Fat is not going to be causing you, increased fat stores is not what's causing you to gain weight in that first month of strength training. So if during your first month you got stronger, you built muscle, your measurements are down, and your pictures show a positive change, you can rest assured that you are losing fat and significant amounts of it. I can also assure you that the thing not contributing to your weight gain is fat. If you met all the criteria, that I just mentioned, and you still saw a slight weight gain after your first month, you did not gain fat, not one bit. You need to take your new weight after your first month and use that as your baseline. So starting with the second month and every month after that, assuming you're training, you're strength training, you're getting plenty of activity outside the gym, you're dialing in your nutrition, you will see the scale go down every single month. Because you're typically not going to see you're not going to continue to see significant changes in the inflammation process, your blood volume, glycogen stores after month one. Basically, the amounts that you see in month one, generally speaking, are going to be the amounts that you see after that. So those are no longer going to contribute to additional weight gained. It's really just the first month that you're seeing these processes happening. But because you're still going to be gaining 0.5 to 2 pounds of dry muscle tissue plus some water weight along with that, your weight loss will be slower than if you weren't doing strength training, but your fat loss will be much faster. You will, without a doubt, lose more fat by including strength training in your fitness plan than if you did not include strength training. So I'm going to leave you guys with a framework or a couple frameworks that I've used or that I use currently when working with clients to decide if they're losing fat on a good pace after their first month. This is based on data of over 1,000 clients. And of course, this assumes that clients want to lose fat, which is 90+% of our clients. So for women, the first category, if you see a weight increase of more than 3 pounds after month one, that's not great. You probably did put on a small amount of fat, and it's time to take a look at your nutrition plus your activity outside the gym, things like walking, how many steps a day are you getting, etc. The second category is if your weight increased, say 2 to 3 pounds, you probably lost a small amount of fat. This is a pretty good pace and you will eventually get to your goal, but fat loss could likely be faster. So you might want to take a look at your nutrition plus your activity outside of the gym. Number 3, if your weight only increased basically anywhere from no weight gain to only 1 pound, you probably lost a moderate amount of fat. This is a really good pace. Keep going. You will see the scale go down the next month. Category number 4, if you see a weight loss of 1 or more pounds, you've lost a lot of fat. And it may not sound like a lot. It's like, oh, Nate, I'm only down 1 or 2 pounds. Like, you're even 3 pounds. I've done crazy diets in the past, and I've lost 1,000,000 pounds in the first month. There's a lot going on there, and we can talk about that in another video. But I can assure you that if you've lost 1 or more pounds in your first month, you are losing a lot of fat. And honestly, the first thing I'm going to do is double check to make sure that your nutrition plan is sustainable and not too aggressive. But if it is sustainable, keep going. You are killing it. All right, so next is for men. Generally, if they see a weight increase of more than 5 pounds, that's not great. You probably put on a small amount of fat, and you want to take a look at your nutrition and outside the gym activity. Number 2, if your weight increased 3 to 5 pounds, you probably lost a small amount of fat. Again, this is a pretty good pace, but it could likely be faster, so you might want to take a look at your nutrition and outside the gym activity. The third category is if your weight only increased anywhere from 0, no increase, up to 2 pounds, you lost a moderate amount of fat. This is a great pace. Keep going. Number 4, if you see a weight loss of more than a pound, like dudes, if you're losing a pound or more in the first month, you are losing a ton of fat. So the first thing I'm going to look at, again, is your nutrition plan sustainable? Is it not too aggressive? And as long as it's not, as long as it is sustainable, keep going. You are rocking it. So the above guidelines are very useful for men and women. However, it does help to know a few other things. So below, or I'm reading this blog, I apologize. Next, I'm gonna list a few more things that are gonna make you, more likely to see weight gain in your first month of training, and then a few things that are gonna make you less likely to see a weight gain in your first month of training. So things that are gonna make you more likely to cause weight gain, being a man, being younger in your teens, 20s, 30s. If you've done strength training in the past, had a time period where you weren't working out and now you're getting back into it, having a history of strength training, you're doing more workouts per week. So that's just going to cause more inflammation, more recovery. So I'm talking 4+ workouts a week. And then if you weigh more. So generally, like, all these processes are just increased in magnitude when you weigh more. I mean, it's just if you're a bigger person, you've got, you probably have more blood, you probably got more glycogen, and so a 10% increase in those things for you versus somebody that's weighs half of what you weigh, it's just going to be more. So again, things, just to summarize, things more likely to cause weight gain: being a man, being younger in your teens, 20s, 30s, having done strength training in the past, doing more workouts per week, like 4+, and weighing more, like 200+ pounds. Things that are less likely to cause weight gain: being a woman, being older, like 40s+, and don't shoot me, okay? You guys are very young, but you're not gonna respond quite the same way that you would in your 20s. All right, so also things less likely to cause weight gain: having never done strength training in the past, so no strength training experience, doing fewer workouts per week, so like 2 to 3 workouts per week, which is generally what I recommend for most people. And weighing less than 200 pounds. And so again, to go through those one more time: things less likely to cause weight gain: being a woman, being older, never having strength trained before, doing fewer workouts per week, and weighing less than 200 pounds. So this is definitely a spectrum, and you might meet criteria. A lot of people do. You might meet criteria from both categories. But if you're looking at like extreme ends, like seeing a lot of weight gain, seeing like not a lot of weight gain, you've got, if you got a young man in his 20s who used to play football and worked out in high school and, got super strong from that and hasn't worked out in a while. He weighs 250 pounds. He's going to work out 4 days a week. He is, like the greatest candidate for seeing a weight gain while still losing fat at the end of the first month. On the other end of the spectrum, more likely to see a smaller weight gain and still be losing fat is you got, say a woman in her 60s who weighs 135 pounds, who's never worked out before, who's only going to work out 2 days a week. So, based on those examples, it's not uncommon for that young man that I just mentioned to see a huge weight gain in his first month of 5+ pounds while still losing a lot of fat. And also, it's not uncommon for, that woman the woman mentioned earlier, she might see 0 weight gain, but has only, or even lost a pound or two, but seen a small amount of fat loss in her first month. So again, it's a spectrum. Most people fall somewhere on that spectrum and meet a variety of criteria. But I start with when I'm assessing a client, I start with the male-female categories. That gives me a general idea, and then of course, when I'm working with the clients, I know their history, I know their story. And so I'm going to take that knowledge and apply that to get a general idea of, where they should be falling on, based on their results and what would be normal for them based on their categories, the categories that they fall into. So anyway, I wanted to give you guys a few examples. Use those criteria to determine where you'd fall on the spectrum and compare it to your results. And I'll leave you with this. If you'd like my opinion in evaluating your progress after your first month of strength training, I'd be happy to do so. Send me an email to Nate, Nate, at steelstrengthtraining.com. That's Nate at steelstrengthtraining.com. Nate at STEEL, like the metal, strengthtraining.com, and we'll set up a time to talk. And of course, if you would like to work with us, I would love to have a zero pressure phone call to see if we'd be a good fit to work together and help you change your body, health, and lifestyle. I hope this was helpful. Talk to you guys soon.